Greetings, friends. If you've been working on manifesting your desires and aren't really seeing results yet, it's likely that it's not the practices that you're doing, but rather it's your unconscious shadow at play. Now, this is the number one component to manifestation that the law of attraction completely overlooks and almost no one talks about. So today we are exploring exactly why doing shadow work is a crucial component to maximizing your manifestation potential. By the end of this video, you're going to know exactly why the shadow influences your manifestation potential and how to begin integrating the shadow today so that you can begin receiving the full return of your manifestation intentions. So what is the shadow side? Just a little recap here because I do talk about it in other videos that I'll link around. What we call the shadow side is comprised of the aspects of ourselves that we unconsciously reject, deny, and disown. Now, we unconsciously do this ultimately as a self-preservation and protection mechanism. It's your unconscious mind trying to protect you from what you perceive as being harmful or dangerous. Now, I'm going to use a really quick example here that I have used in other videos, but it's the one I always use. So this demonstrates how things that end up in your shadow are not always things about you that are negative or undesirable. It's just a perceived idea. Now, here's the example. Let's say that you are a person who was born naturally super energetically sensitive, intuitive, creative, but born to a family of scientists who don't value those things. So even though these are things that are valid, gifted aspects of you, if you grow up in an environment that seems to not value or encourage or support and maybe even discourage you from exploring those things, the parts of you that are the most gifted aspects of you can end up in your shadow. And this happens a lot, I would say prevalently. So what is shadow work? Shadow work is the act of becoming consciously aware of those unconscious things. And we do this as an integration process so that our unconscious, unhealed shadow components are no longer sabotaging our manifestation efforts. Shadow work is also a huge component to mind, body, spirit, multi-dimensional healing and empowerment. So why does shadow work really matter in manifestation? This is why. There's a lot of teachings out there that suggest that all you have to do is be really committed to what you want to manifest and it will happen. But here's the thing. Our deep unconscious beliefs have to be completely aligned with what we're intending in order for that manifestation to occur. Oftentimes, within the deep unconscious shadow side, we have beliefs that are contrary to what we're intending to manifest. And the law of attraction or the law of manifestation works based on what we deeply, truly, unconsciously believe, not what we want to believe or are trying to believe. So you can see how integrating the shadow, doing the shadow work is a crucial element to ultimately manifesting your goals. Now, the thing is, a lot of the beliefs that we hold in our shadow side aren't even true. They're just programmed ideas that we've adapted from the environment that we were most influenced by in growing up. So, without doing shadow work, the unconscious belief systems are going to win every time. But I'm about to share with you powerful tools and modalities that you can utilize to begin integrating the shadow, creating an energetic alignment that completely supports you in your manifestation efforts and goals. So let's look at the top 3 signs that your shadow is blocking your manifestation. On the most fundamental level, sign number 1 is that you keep unconsciously repeating the same cycles over and over. This commonly encompasses things like attracting the same traits in partners over and over, continuing to hit a same ceiling in regard to financial growth goals or any other type of growth goal, or experiencing repeated opportunity failures. This is what I call the unprocessed shadow loop, which is rooted in good intentions. It serves to bring us the same lessons over and over until we can finally receive the insight, receive the lesson, make a shift, and move on. So ultimately, shadow work is connected to seeing the pattern, learning the lesson, and moving forward into fresh integrated energies. The second sign that your shadow is blocking your manifestation is what I call the almost factor. You get close, but never quite there. Or the almost, but not quite version of your manifestation desire shows up over and over again. This dynamic is frequently connected to fear of success or fear of change. And the third sign that your shadow is blocking manifestation is a feeling of resistance or anxiety that comes up when things do start to manifest. This is like a subconscious panic that shows up when you're doing something new that's outside of your comfort zone, outside of what you think you're capable of, outside of who you think you are, or potentially feeling unsafe. And this is where procrastination can kick in. But here, let's dive more into these practices that I'm going to share with you that will enable you to discover, integrate, and ultimately heal your shadow side. I'm going to share with you what I call the 4 A's of shadow work integration. But before I get into that, let me just say I do have a few other shadow work videos here on this channel that I will link around here or put in the description box below. But a really fun one that you can do if you enjoy working with the tarot is I have a video that is specifically how to do shadow work through the tarot. It's a specific tarot spread that asks specific inquiries that helps you to really get to the root of some of the shadow dynamics. So that's a fun, creative, intuitive approach to doing shadow work that I actually frequently work with a lot myself. But let's get into these 4 A's. First A stands for awareness. Awareness is the first step in doing shadow work. And what you especially want to be aware of is what your triggers are. What is showing up in your life that commonly triggers you? Essentially, our triggers show us where we still have soul growth work to do because it shows us where we have unintegrated shadow dynamics. Those triggers are actually here to help you to see where you're not feeling completely aligned and whole. So noticing a trigger is in no way, shape, or form any indicator of a failure on your end regarding your healing work. It's proof that you're ready to take your healing to a deeper level. Just the act of consciously noticing your trigger. So just to be clear, what is a trigger? A trigger is anything that you experience that jolts you into anything other than a tranquil, peaceful, serene, harmonized state of being. Anytime you have any experience that jolts fear, anxiety, constriction, tightness, that's a trigger. Then that brings us to the next A, which is acceptance. Accept that your shadow is functioning as a protector, not an enemy. When those unconscious things get pushed into your shadow, again, it's for self-preservation. It's your unconscious mind protecting you from what it recognizes as somehow being harmful, physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. However, the information that it has, that it's been working with, is largely based on programmed ideologies, value systems, belief systems that aren't necessarily your own true self-chosen beliefs and values. And this is where the shadow integration work comes in, is we get to upgrade our paradigm. We get to notice what parts of our shadow are things that we've taken on from other people through just natural socialization processes, and how can I replace those with beliefs, ideas, values that are more aligned with who I am now. There's a practice that I learned in yoga. I'm also a yoga teacher, and this is a practice that I work with a lot in my own shadow work healing and shadow work sessions that I work with other people. And this practice is called feel, breathe, flow. And this is what you do. You notice a trigger's coming up, okay? And instead of being in resistance to it or pushing it away, you invite it. You be present with it. You can do things like notice where you feel it in your body. When you put your attention there, you will feel, oh, I'm feeling it in my throat, I'm feeling it in my heart, I'm feeling it in my gut, wherever it is, my head. It's different for other people, but just trust where you're feeling it. Then again, instead of resisting it, you're going to breathe into that space like you're allowing it some space to be. You're acknowledging the presence of it. You may even imagine that the energy of the trigger that is happening within you, if you could imagine that as having a color, a shape, or a texture, just as a way to comprehend what the energy is in a symbolic form, but breathe into wherever you feel it in your body, like you're giving it some space and some breathing room to be. And you can even silently say to it, I'm present, I'm here, I'm ready to hear the message you have for me. How is it that you've been attempting to protect me? And what would be a higher wisdom connected to this? So the third A stands for alchemy. We're alchemizing the shadow dynamics by rewriting the shadow beliefs. Now, this is my favorite go-to practice that I'm going to share with you here. It's so simple, and you just fill in the blank. This is especially helpful when a trigger is arising, because again, that trigger is directly connected to a shadow component that is rising up. So when that happens, you take a moment and you ask yourself, the reason I feel, fill in the blank, which is what the trigger is, the feeling that is coming up with the trigger, not necessarily the self-talk, but what's the emotion, what's the vibe, what's the feeling that's coming up that's creating the restriction or the tightness or whatever it is. The reason I feel, fill in the blank, is because I believe, fill in the blank. And if you were to let yourself just Spontaneously write down the first thing that comes to you as soon as you write down the because I believe part and you don't overthink it, you will access the deep unconscious shadow belief that is connected to the trigger feeling. Okay, that's step one. Then you ask yourself, is this belief factually true? Or is this just an assumption that I have? Is it a projection that I'm putting on something? And this is going to help you to see how most of those deep unconscious beliefs that are connected to your shadow side aren't even true. They're real because you're really experiencing them, but they're not true. So this is where the rewriting comes in. You can ask yourself, what would I prefer in the now as a sovereign adult individual on a path of healing and empowerment? What do I feel is a truer belief, or what do I prefer to believe? And this is where the rewriting starts. And the way that you do the rewriting component, you get to a point of what feels more aligned with truth, and then you work with an affirmation. With shadow work related affirmations, it's better to begin your affirmation with, I now allow fill in the blank, or I now choose fill in the blank, rather than the typical I am fill in the blank. And that's because of this. Let's say you're working on your abundance manifestation. If you use an affirmation that is, I am abundant, I am prosperous, and you have a deep unconscious belief that is contrary to that, which you usually can tell because when you say the affirmation, there's an inner feeling of resistance there. Then no matter how many times you say that affirmation of I am prosperous, I am abundantful, it will not work. But with shadow work affirmations, if you say, I now choose abundance, I now allow abundance into my life, you'll notice that there's not that inner resistance, because choosing something new, allowing something new, even if it wasn't what you were doing before, is something that the unconscious mind can be completely on board with. So that is one of the magic keys to the alchemy here. So step one, feel, breathe, flow. Step two, the reason I feel this is because I believe this. Step three, is what I believe true? If not, what feels more true? What feels more aligned? And number four, affirmations around that. I now allow this. I now choose this. And this brings us to the fourth A, which is alignment. So once you do all the things I just mentioned, alignment comes through taking action in the direction of how you are rewriting the shadow self. Now, the integration of the shadow comes when you let yourself listen to how it is that your shadow's been acting up in these triggery ways, in ways that are trying to help you. It's trying to help you to see where you're not integrated within yourself, or where you feel disempowered, or what your wounds are, what your trauma is. So doing the rewriting and then following up in aligned choices and actions that are new approaches. You have to hold the hand of your shadow like it's a little kid that doesn't know better, but you're the empowered, healed adult that is showing it a new way. And you're the one providing the feeling of safety for the shadow side. And when you take a risk, go out on a limb, do a new thing that's beyond your comfort zone, that results in, hey, I was safe in doing that. There was no catastrophe, everything was okay. That is another realm or dimension in which healing and integration of your shadow side can happen. Essentially, our unconscious components of our shadow side acts as energetic densities that conflict with the vibrational frequencies that we need to be able to be in order to manifest ultimately. But the manifestation practices that most people typically do, which is like the law of attraction stuff, vision boards, creative visualization, those are all great and amazing, helpful tools to keep us on track with the vibrational resonance that is connected to what we're intending or desiring to manifest. But ultimately, at the end of the day, the act of manifestation is not a certain practice that we do. The practices are tools to help us in embodying the vibrational frequency, being an energetic resonance with that which we desire to manifest. It's completely embodying the energy of what we're intending to manifest. And that's when it pops into being. Ultimately, integrating the shadow, doing the shadow work accelerates and empowers your manifestation potentials. What have been your recurring themes that have seemed like blocks to your manifestation efforts? I want to know in the comments below so that I can address them either in the comments or perhaps in a follow-up video. Be sure to check the description box below and the links around this video for my other shadow work videos. And if you're ready to accelerate your empowerment journey, I invite you to subscribe. I post videos every week on intuition, inner work, spiritual awakening, alignment, empowerment, and healing. So I hope to see you in the next video. All my love, guys. Blessings and namaste.